Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to get the special call meeting for Tuesday, August 13, 2019 to order. This meeting was called on August 2nd. This is to review the budget for 2019-2020, and that is the purpose of this meeting, and we appreciate everybody being here. Silence your phones if you haven't thought of it. I think I've just remembered to do mine. We thank everyone for being here, and before we go to prayer and pledge, I would like to go ahead and make an announcement that anyone who wants to speak can come to the microphone for 3 minutes. Just come up and state your name and your address, and again, you'll be given 3 minutes, and then we'll jump into the business at hand. So has everybody checked in on your device? And then we'll get started with a prayer, which will be led by Tim Shelton, our Register of Deeds, and then we'll have our pledge led by Commissioner Rick Meredith. Tim, would you mind come up and leading us in prayer, sir?
Let's pray together. Father, we want to just pause and give thanks for the many blessings you give us. Father, we consider it a privilege and an honor to be able to come to you and for you to hear our prayers, and to, as we make our desires known to you, God, we know that you hear what they are. God, our prayer is today that as this group comes together to guide our county and to send it in a direction, that, Father, you might give each one wisdom and courage, Father, that you might just touch them in a special way. God, that when we leave here this afternoon, that every person might have peace about what's done, and God, that the conviction within each heart might be pure. Bless us now, for it's in your holy and precious name we pray, and amen.
Amen. Join me in saluting the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rick. If you, before we have anyone come up, I just want to say this to all the commission. I want to thank each and every one of you. I know this has been a long, hard road, and it's not easy, especially those on the Budget Committee. And Mr. Chairman of the Budget Committee, I know it's not a task that's envious, but I'm proud of this commission and where you got it today, even though it's taken a little longer. I think we're doing our constituents justice, and at the end of the day, our goal this week will be to walk out of here with a budget for the 2019-2020, and we'll all walk out as friends just like we entered. So that's the goal of this meeting. So with that said, anyone that'd like to come to the microphone and speak on the budget before we get into it, and again, the department heads, you'll have time to come up and address anything. You don't necessarily have to come up at this moment. This is more for residents, citizens that just want to come up and make a few comments. Yes, sir. Come on up, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Martin McBride, 954 West Outer in Oak Ridge. And I'd like to echo the chairman's comments. Thank you very much for struggling with these issues. The question that we have before us as we look at the budget is not only the level of this tax increase, but also whether we are going to continue to allow DOE to hold back the Anderson County economy. Now, we should be swimming in revenue because of the DOE presence, particularly because of the UPF presence, a $6 billion project in our backyards, and we're talking about raising taxes 20 cents. What's wrong with this picture? And the answer is DOE has sidetracked that revenue stream and sent it to Knoxville. There is no basis for them to make any kind of housing recommendations to their people, but they are making them. I work with the hotels. I talk to these people all the time. And they're not only making them, they're assigning Farragut realtors to the new people coming in. And of course, they don't come over here unless they have a listing here, because it's not cost effective for those people to come over here. Now, I am one of the most pro-nuclear people that you're probably ever going to meet, and I love Y-12. But let's face reality. That is one of the world's largest plants that makes weapons of mass destruction. We are their body armor. We keep them protected from public criticism and absorb the criticism ourselves. That last event that happened where they mislabeled waste, Oak Ridge and Anderson and Roane counties get a black eye over what happens at DOE. The contract is, we'll do that, but then when they get an economic opportunity, they also make sure we get our part of that economic opportunity, and they are breaking that contract. It is not fair. It is not just. And the question is, how long are we going to continue to absorb these economic hits so that we forces us to raise taxes? I work with the hotels. They've got to absorb 4 times the tax rate that the residents do. So you and the council pass a 20-cent increase, that means they have to absorb 80 cents of tax increase. And a lot of the hotel's revenue is capped because they have a lot of federal business, and per diem doesn't allow them to pass the costs along. So the question is, how much longer is this going to go on? When are we going to talk to DOE? Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it. Anyone else like to come up and speak before we get into the budget here? Yes, ma'am, please.
April Perry, 90 Dairy Pond Road, Norris. Here on behalf of Anderson County Education Association. And
Well, I know it's not been 3 minutes.
I know, I'm like, wow, that was quick. I just want to say that you know who your friends are when you have 30 freshmen during a 4th block class and you have to try to come to this meeting at 3:30. So yeah, several people before finally somebody said, okay. But at any rate, I would encourage you guys to vote yes on this tax increase. Nobody wants their taxes increased, I realize that. But I feel confident that the entire commission and the budget committee has really hashed out where this money is going to go and that there is a long-term plan for it. I know we can talk about wheel tax and we can look at that, later on down the line, but it's a little too late for that, obviously, right now. So we have to get this budget passed. I'm confident that what is going to happen with the school systems is fantastic where that 5 cents is going, and I have utter confidence and faith in our Board of Education and Dr. Parrott.
Thank you, April. April, what's your last name again? I apologize. I was right.
Perry, P-R-R-Y.
Thank you, April. And thank you for your comments. Anyone else? All right, we're going to move on into the business at hand. Please use your microphones. I've been instructed by Mr. Andy back there that at break, he will have a ruler out and he'll slap our hands if we don't use the microphones properly. All right, so we're going to open it up for discussion on the 2019-2020 budget. But before we get started, I'd like to have Robbie, if you'd like to kick us off, give us a little summary. And then Jerry, after he gets done speaking, since you're the chairman of the budget committee, if you'd like to follow him, sir, I'd like for you to speak, and then we'll let the board take up the business. Go ahead, Robbie.
Fine. Sure.
And Robbie, I'll just introduce you real quick for the folks at home. Robbie Holbrook, you're the interim finance director, correct?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to set the stage, at the August 8th Budget Committee meeting, a motion was passed to reconsider the 2019-2020 budget. The new proposal increases taxes 10 cents, which will bring the new property tax rate to 2.8903. The first actions the Budget Committee took were a series of cuts from the general fund budget that totaled $540,722. These cuts included the second half of the fire truck, $120,000 in capital outlay from EMA budget, and several departmental cuts in the general fund. The next agenda item was solid waste, and they presented 3 new budget options, and the committee approved option 1. This will allow them to hire 2 new employees, a part-time and a full-time, but it will also allow them to keep the Blockhouse Valley facility open full-time, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and a half a day on Saturday, and the animal shelter will be open full-time now. And this cost an additional $80,583, but it was paid for with the cuts in the general fund budget with the operating transfer, so there was no tax increase for that. Employee salaries were the next item the commission discussed. A 2% cost of living increase was taken off the table for $1,000 for each employee cost of living raise. And this will help decrease the salary disparities that exist between higher and lower paid employees. Some of the lower paid employees weren't going to get as much if it was a 2% raise. This increase will cost the county $455,964 in new money with additional benefits and salary. A decision was made to fund the raise with available savings found in the general fund budget, which that's $460,269, and an operating transfer from the 263 health insurance fund of $280,000. The action from the budget committee cut the tax levy 3 cents with that move. The next action taken was to modify the sheriff's proposed budget to opening only half of Unit 1. The cut will allow the tax levy to be reduced 2.25 pennies from 6.75 to 4.5 cents. The prisoner boarding revenue code was increased an additional $500,000 to $2.2 million. This additional revenue will be used to fund the sheriff's operations request of 5 new deputies. The general purpose school fund is set to receive 5 pennies from the tax levy into the educational capital projects fund. This move was another cut made by the budget committee, as the previous proposed rate was 6 pennies. An additional move made by the budget committee was to give the schools $400,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance. But after talking to the auditors, that move is not legal. The action is not legal. Money cannot be transferred between 2 funds receiving money from the tax levy, so we'll have to reconsider this action. The last agenda item taken by the budget committee was to reduce the general capital projects fund to a half a penny from 1.5. I would like to point out that the general fund is a balanced budget, drawing down reserves $483,224 to meet reoccurring operational expenses. And that kind of sums up the meeting from last Thursday.
Thank you, Robbie. Anyone? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Creasy.
No, I want to wait. You said for the wait till everybody's spoke.
I didn't know if you had a question for Robbie.
No.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question for Robbie? Commissioner Meade? Yes, sir.
Yeah, the 8-cent decrease in the tax rate that this represents from the one that had been considered previously, that's about $1.2 million in revenue a year. Was there $1.2 million in spending that was reduced? I tried to follow what you were just going through, but it kind of...
Sorry. We reduced $540,722 in spending, and also opening Unit 1, half of Unit 1 reduced.
Well, that was another 500,000 about, right? Because they used the money from the...
179,362.
Okay.
That's what he said in his email back in June 6th.
Okay, my concern is that it appears we're going to take we're really using our undesignated reserves to pay things that we're not going to have the revenues now. And when I came on the commission 9 years ago, we had an undesignated fund balance of about $400,000. We were on watch lists. Our credit standing and bond ratings had been dropped. And I'm concerned we could start heading that direction again where we were back then. That's my concern about this particular budget. The state and the comptroller's office tells us that we really should have around $4 or $5 million in our undesignated fund. That seems like a lot of extra money on hand, but not when you start early in the year and you don't have tax revenues coming in until in the late fall, early winter is when most of the property taxes are paid. And so I'm just concerned we're heading that way, so we just got to be careful. Otherwise, I think you guys done a great job. I think we've cut every bit of fat out of this budget. I'm a little concerned about the fire truck being delayed another year because of the way we're funding them. But otherwise, I'm in favor of what you've done here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meade. Appreciate the comments. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has the immediate capital needs fluctuated very much from that $3 million figure since this, or are we still looking at probably having to issue a bond?
Since we took EMAs, the $120,000 off the budget, out of the budget, that will go into the capital outlay needs as well. And so the smaller needs are up to like 600,000 now, and the larger needs are at 2.6 million. So yeah,
So
over
about
$3 million.
3.2 million that we'll probably have to, I'm guessing, borrow.
That was another item addressed in the budget meeting Thursday. They want to review that in the September meeting after the budget's passed. There's a chance we could take some of the smaller items and pay for them out as unassigned,
Okay, thank you.
possibly.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Good questions. Commissioner Scott?
Robbie, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you very much for being patient with me with my phone calls and emails, asking a lot of questions, and how does this number come about, and where did that money go? You've done an outstanding job as an interim, and I just wanted it to be publicly stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Anyone else? Commissioner White, Chairman White, Budget Committee, sir. You got anything you'd like to add?
Only thing I'd like to say is that the Budget Committee has worked hard. I'd like to thank Chuck Fritz and Ms. Denenberg and Shane Val and Denver Waddell and Dr. Bob and Teresa and Rick over here for the good job they done and working with Robbie. I've known Robbie for years, but this is the most I've ever worked with him, and it was a pleasure working with the mayor. She's been very positive in these tax cuts, the way that it's all come about. Took us a long time to get here, but and I would encourage the full commission to look at this and pass it as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Commissioner McCamey, are you going to make a motion?
No.
Okay. I was just going to give the mayor a chance to talk if she wanted to, or any of the department heads before we made any motions. But go ahead, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Part of the proposal was $400,000 county general fund for the Chromebooks. And now our finance director is saying that the state has told him that's not allowable. They're paying, the school department is presently paying $260,000 a year in SRO monies. They contract with the sheriff's department to pay that $260,000 a year. We could forgive that for 1 year and reimburse the sheriff out of the county general fund to get them $260,000, and then we would only owe $140,000 next year. And I would like to suggest that be made as part of the overall budget, because the budget committee did approve $400,000 county general fund. Technically, this is taking it from county general fund and giving it to the sheriff's office instead of to the schools. But since we can't transfer it between funds, we have to keep in one of the county general fund codes. So that would be my recommendation.
We didn't know that at the time.
No, I understand.
Right.
I've ever since we've been talking about the budget, I've always said we should just pony up and pay it out of our, unassigned fund balance. But since that's not allowable by the state comptroller's office, this is the only solution that I know of that we can get them a good portion of their money anyway that I think they deserve, because we had committed to it earlier.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey. Commissioner Creasy.
Yeah, and I may be confused. I spoke with Commissioner Scott yesterday, and also one of my constituents called me. I somehow was under the impression, and I spoke with our parliamentarian and one of the other commissioners just a few moments ago before the meeting. The motion that Commissioner Scott made, the list of cuts that she suggested, for some reason I thought that didn't get voted on, and I was wanting that clarified. I know that Commissioner Scott made the motion, Commissioner Denenberg seconded the motion, but I don't remember the vote on that. And one of my constituents also, who watched the program, didn't notice a vote on it. And so I was wanting to clarify that before we get too far into the meeting. Did your motion get voted on?
Rick said that it failed 5-3.
Okay, that's what the parliamentarian
And that was
told
for
me.
the $271,000.
And that was that list of cuts? Okay. All right, then, when I spoke with you yesterday, I also had the impression it may have not got voted on. Sorry about that.
Thank you,
That
Commissioner.
was it.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy.
And
Good question.
The trustee is promised us a tax sale, and she said they're working on it, and I got a copy of it. And there was something, and I brought that up, spoke at the budget meeting Thursday, $15,000 is owed in back taxes for 2014. So, and she also told me a little earlier that she has gone back to those unpaid taxes and has collected quite a bit. And if she wants to speak on that, I'd like to hear it.
Be happy to.
Do you want the year breakdown, or do you want,
Just-
like on collection on 2014, 15, 16?
Yeah,
Is that what you're
do
talking
that.
about?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we added it up total collection for 2014, 15, 16, and 17. And year-to-date from our totals is $557,221. Now, that 2017 taxes, that is just from the total that we turned over to the clerk and master as to what we're showing has been collected today. So, and the 2014s is, I think, what the delinquent tax attorney has scheduled for a sale. Did anybody else have any questions on that? I think one of the questions that in the last budget thing that somebody had asked was how those were broke down. And those are broke down by the year. Like in 2014, however, you all had it assigned that it would break down. That's the way the 2014, the collection on those taxes will be broken down. Not according as to the way it is now, is the way I understand it.
And I'd just like to comment and thank you for that, because that was very proactive on your part, and you brought in a lot of taxes. And it sounded as if I was criticizing maybe the trustee's office.
No, I didn't take it that way.
I mentioned that the other day.
No.
But as soon as you have that, or the tax attorney has that advertised, they'll start coming in and we'll have additional income.
I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. And Regina, the 557,221, has that money, are you saying it's already been received?
Yes, that's what's just been collected from, we ran our report from July 1, 2018 to June 30, 2019. So that's just what's been collected on those during that time.
So this amount of money came in during that time frame.
Yes,
Thank you.
according to the reports we have.
Great job. Thank you, Regina. I know we had a couple commissioners, Isabel and me, that you might have some other items because your buttons were pushed before this. Did you want to speak to this, either of you?
I wanted to speak to the one just
Yes, sir.
before about the sheriff's department.
We're going to come back to you. Hang on, Regina, because I
Okay.
think Commissioner Scott has a question. If you guys are okay.
Yeah, just
Commissioner
real
Scott.
quick, when is the sales scheduled?
Commissioner Denenberg, sorry, I got that
He
backwards.
is,
You'll be next, ma'am.
my understanding of this, he's shooting to try to do it in October,
Okay, thank you.
and that's for the 2014.
Scott, was you lit up there, or did I just give it to you without?
No, you threw it. It's the
Okay.
mental.
Well, then I'm going to get slapped by Denenberg because she was next.
Are you saying that our chairman is a mental thing?
No, we don't think he
That's
has a
not
mental thing.
nice.
Commissioner Denenberg.
You're embarrassed.
Don't worry, I won't turn you into ethics. You're fine.
Thank you. Ms. Regina,
Yes.
and actually, with all that going on, I'm not sure I heard Commissioner Scott's question, so if I'm going to be repeating the same question, just let me know.
Okay.
My understanding is the monies, as Chairman just confirmed, that the $557,000 plus dollars has been collected by your department as of July.
On the delinquents, those are collected in the clerk and master, but that's just, and then they tell us what to take off, and then, so we ran a report on just what we have.
But these are delinquent taxes that have been collected as of July of this year?
Yes,
Okay.
according to the report in our office.
Okay. Then did I understand that the only year that is being brought to tax sale is 2014?
Right now, that's what he's working on, is
Why?
2014.
Okay.
I guess because they usually do them 1 year at a time. They usually do 2 years at a time. I don't know.
Okay.
I know that,
I would like
that
if
I
you
think
could just
Jay
please
done
find out.
12 last year and some of 13.
Okay. If you
So-
could just find the answer to the question, I would appreciate it.
Just, so you want to know just why 1
Well,
year?
just why we're only going back to 2014. This is 2019. Why
Yeah.
are we letting people and properties ride that
Well,
need to be
2012 was just done last year, 2012 and some 2013. Why that just got done last year, I have no
Okay.
idea.
But if you could please find out, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Anyone else questions for the trustee?
Do I need to hit the button?
No, go ahead.
So my question is, why wouldn't you know when property is going up for sale if you manage that department and the person that handles that project?
2014, are you saying why do I not know what month exactly
Okay.
it's going to
No,
sell?
No, you said that it's 2014 being sold.
Yes.
That property. And Commissioner Denenberg's question was, why only the 1 year? And you went on about 2012 and 2013, and the response was, I don't know.
I don't know.
Well,
Okay.
look, let's let
Okay.
Regina go do her thing. I'm appreciative she's brought in $557,000 to this. Does that money go into the undesignated fund balance, or how's that?
It is broken down, my understanding, just like all of the other taxes for the,
Well, I
however,
follow you.
how it was broken down for
Okay.
2014 is how it breaks down.
All right.
Now, that is just the tax money. That does not include any of the 10% added on that goes into the general fund and
That's right.
and all of that.
We budget for all this money, like
Right.
trustees collection prior year had a $425,000 budget, and we realized $440,000 this year. So we do budget for this,
Okay.
that we're getting these collections. So.
Thank you, Robbie. Anyone else? Rick, did you have anything you want to add?
Well, I just want point of clarification. When you do delinquent taxes, it could take up to 2 years once the trustee determines delinquent. Then it goes to clerk and master. Then it goes to suit. And you're also crossing years with the way our taxes are collected from October to February. So somebody couldn't be delinquent till maybe May. So that's where you're getting your years mixed up. It really is a 2-year process. So if she's at 14, then the next year's it takes 2 more, and it just keeps adding. That's I understand that, but there's probably a catch-up here in some of that. That would be my thinking on it.
Thank you, Commissioner Meredith. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was before my time, but didn't the state kind of put a freeze on our tax sales at a certain point?
I don't know.
Over some legal issues, and has that kind of put us part of why we're behind or something like that?
I don't recall, Commissioner.
I think what Jay had said last time is because of the Daya lawsuit, right, Jay? That there was 2 or 3 years that it didn't get done because of the Daya lawsuit.
Okay.
2 years.
All right. Very good. All right, well, let's move on. Let's get into the budget. I appreciate you coming. Appreciate you, Commissioner Creasy, bringing it to our attention. Thank you, Regina, for bringing it up. Now, let's get back to hand. Commissioner Isabel, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to say I'm not against any of the funding. I just want to do a different approach. And like I said before, if Jim Woodward says we need $1, they need $1. Same way with the Sheriff's Department. I decided to take a different approach to it. And I just want to give some numbers that we have, and then I just found out some more information on coming into this room today that's going to be good news for this body. Our total assessment, this is from 2018 to 2019. Last year was $1,638,000,000. That's in 2018. And what I'm talking about is the growth of the county. This year, it's $1,679,000,000. New monies from 2018 that's coming into, this is the unincorporated new monies, and I just got this from Billy Brown just 30 minutes ago. New monies to the county, unincorporated, is $261,309. The new monies coming into the county from the city of Clinton is $586,090. From Rocky Top, 60,000. From Norris, 20,000. From Oak Ridge, 248,000. From Olive Spring, $4,680. And that's just talking about growth. And what do we do with that money? That's taxpayer money. And this is all from personal property. It don't have any real property. It's just personal property. Or real property, it's not personal property. So that's growth. There's money there. And I found out today that our property assessor has done such a good job and probably finding a big windfall. And the law director, they've been in that today. Possible, we're looking at maybe 20 million. And some things that the property assessor has found that hadn't been picked up. And it could go as high as 100 million. That's pretty huge. That's growth. That's the money that we need without taxing the taxpayer already. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Isabel. Commissioner Meade, sir.
Yeah, Mr. McCain was talking about this, us paying the sheriff's department for the SROs and state that therefore giving the school some money that they have on hand to take care of the e-books and stuff. My concern is if we give the sheriff that $270,000, does that go towards maintenance of effort? Because I know once you start paying the sheriff for the schools, then you're not allowed to ever reduce that number.
The sheriff's maintenance effort is not near as broad as the school maintenance of effort statute. The sheriff's statute is needed personnel and the equipment associated with that personnel. So, say uniforms, yes. Say SWAT vehicles, no. That kind of stuff. So it's personnel.
But supplying the SROs to the county schools would sound like something that we would be subject to maintenance of effort. We wouldn't be able to take it back.
Yeah, you've got an agreement with the school system on SROs already. They fund a portion of that.
Yeah, but what was just suggested is that we instead pay that so they could use the money for e-books.
Yeah, you would be adjusting the maintenance of effort on the sheriff's office on that scenario right there. Does that help?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we understood that. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm saying I just want that to come up on the table. So it's a permanent increase to the sheriff's department budget if we do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Meade. Appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Tyler Mays, yes, sir.
A quick point of clarification on the SROs is 100% comes out of our budget every bi-weekly. And then quarterly, Robbie gives numbers to Jim, and then we give Jim a breakdown of what those costs are, the salaries, wages, and if we bought uniforms, et cetera. And then that money just goes back into, I think, the general fund. We don't see an increase or a replacement in our salary code. So I don't know how that would impact this discussion, but we pay 100% up front, and then quarterly they reimburse the county back. It doesn't go into anything in our department.
Okay.
Thank you, Tyler.
Well, it wouldn't do what I was worried about.
That's a good discussion. Thank you, Tyler. Commissioner McCamey, sir.
That's just what I was going to say, that the personnel are already there. And since the maintenance of effort only applies to personnel, those employees that are SROs are Sheriff's Department employees. They just contract with the schools to let them be there part-time. And what I'm saying is that we can just forgive that, and then in turn they can use the money they have in their budget that they're presently using to pay our SROs if we just forgive that. And I'd like to find another 140,000 that we could forgive to make it the 400 that we promised.
Yeah. Commissioner Creasy, sir.
Yeah, and if I understood our interim finance director, the county budget is balanced and the raises are covered for our county employees with the cuts that we have previously made over the last few meetings. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Good question. Thank you for clarification. Robbie has already covered this, but I'm going to just read here. This is something I got from Robbie last week. It's going to just basically say what he's already said. So what's being proposed from the Budget Committee and was approved by the Budget Committee and was discussed in the Budget Committee was 4.5 cents for the sheriff, 5 cents for the school educational capital projects, 0.5 for the general fund capital projects for an even 10, correct? That was the proposal. Now, Commissioner Fritz, you got a question for Robbie, maybe?
No.
Oh, I thought you saw you. It's open floor, folks. Commissioners, if you have something you'd like to put out there. I don't know if the mayor's outside listening, if she needs to talk before we get started. Yes, sir. But we're here to pass a tax levy today so we can move this county forward and get down to business. So, Commissioner White, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we pass the budget as presented.
And that motion would include the way it was described?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And that's, again, 4.5 for the sheriff, 5 cents for the schools educational capital projects, 0.5 for the general fund capital projects for an even 10-cent
For a
tax.
total of 10 cents.
Yes, sir. We have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Fritz, sir.
That would include the changes we was talking about with the 400,000, right?
Yeah. It would take away that 400,000 and then would allow the schools to be forgiven the money for the SROs.
I may be wrong, Commissioner Fritz, but maybe that's something that can be addressed in the appropriations. This is just for the revenue, the tax levy, and then when we get into the appropriations, we can appropriate as we see fit. Unless I'm wrong, guys. I mean, you tell me.
That's correct.
Well, thank you, Rex. Appreciate it. A ringing endorsement.
That was the motion.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. This is the tax levy motion. We don't have a resolution in front of us. I imagine Robbie. Oh, I apologize. Let me get to it.
We need to have copies of both resolutions in each of you.
So the motion is to approve the resolution that's in front of us, which includes the 10 cents, full 10 cents. So now that is going to be, that's the appropriations.
Tax levy appropriations, the last page.
Thank you, Robbie. So it's going to be resolution in the motion. Jerry, I'm going to come back to you, Commissioner Jamerson. I promise you. I apologize. This is going to be for resolution 19-6-765, which does include the 10 cents that we're speaking of. That was on the last page of the one packet that's on your desk, a little smaller packet, not stapled together. Before we go a little further, I know Commissioner Jameson has some questions. Is this? I apologize. Did you have some questions too, Mr. Jameson? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right now?
Yes, sir. Please. Yeah.
I'm not clear, and I don't think everybody else is, about where is the $400,000 to give the county employees a raise coming from?
Good question. Robbie, you want to try to take a stab at that? Thank you for asking, Jameson.
Last budget meeting, we made $540,000 and $722 in cuts. And they funded the solid waste operation, option one, with $80,000 of it, and salary increase with the other $460,269 to cover the cost of the raises. So that's why a tax increase wasn't needed. And we also did a one-time health insurance, the 263 fund, which is at one point like $3 million. We transferred $280,000 into the EMS, solid waste, library, highway, and tourism, and Channel 95 to cover their raises.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other discussion on the motion? So we have a motion in front of us, which includes passing Resolution 19-6-765. Again, 10-cent tax increase as outlined previously. 4.5 for the sheriff, 5 for the schools, educational capital projects, 0.5 for the general fund capital projects. Again, a 10-cent tax increase. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to vote yes for this. I'm optimistic about the growth too, but it's still projected, and it's still just, I don't think, good to bank on that yet. But the good thing about this budget, the way it's proposed, by funding the capital code for the schools, and I know this might not be, they might not want to hear this, but in a couple of years, if we've got the growth to offset it, we could reallocate those pennies. We're not changing the maintenance of effort for the schools. So this I think is a pretty reasonable increase. I know it's not historically, when you pass an increase, you don't take it back, but I think we could look at reducing it over the next few years if the growth's what we hope it's going to be. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. It's been a long road that we've taken to come to this point. I simply want to thank everyone on Commission and Finance for taking a few steps back. During previous commission meetings, I had begged that you take the time to look at the budget that was requested, that there was fluff and or fat and things that could be cut, shaved, modified, etc. I will be voting against this simply because I believe that there are more cuts to be made, and I see revenue that can come in and alleviate that tax increase. But thank you very much for working out further to bring it down from the 18+ cents to where it stands now.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Appreciate your efforts and what you've done too. So it's all helped all together as a whole. Commissioner Yeager, sir.
Thank you. I just want to be, there are so many pages here. I want to be certain that the $500,000 that the sheriff is going to be able to keep from the revenue from the inmates, where does that sit in this paperwork?
Actually, on your resolutions and neither paperwork, it's a revenue, and we don't actually have a revenue resolution, so it has been added in the budget. I gave you a copy of the budget, so if you look at code, let's see here real quick, sorry. 46915 46915. The revenue code, it was increased to $2.2 million under the budget committee column. Okay. From 1.7 million, we increased it 500,000.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. What was that number again?
46915. Contracted prisoner boarding. And I will say we already realized in 2018-19 $2.4 million. So,
thank you, Commissioner Denver. I see what you're saying. 46915 contracted prisoner boarding.
Okay.
It went up 500 from our last meeting.
Yeah, I see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good question. Commissioner Creasy, sir.
Yes, I just want to say I'll be joining my fellow Commissioner Scott in her vote. I've been approached by many of my constituents at Food Line and Kroger's, and my wife said that I had to vote for a raise for county employees, and thanks to the cuts that Commissioner Scott and others have made, we got that covered. So she'll be happy, but I think we've worked real hard, and we both said there's cuts to be made, and I have felt all along that we were right in those cuts, and as it turned out, we have made those cuts, many of them. So I'll be joining Commissioner Scott in my district, representing our constituents.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. Anyone else?
I'll be able to go shopping again.
Commissioner Meade.
I was just going to point out, when I moved to Oak Ridge in 1988, the county tax rate in Oak Ridge was $3.30. When this passes, it'll be 61 cents less than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meade. Anyone else? Well, I think we need to go to the board. Let's do it. Grab your weapon. Yes would be for the tax increase proposed for the resolution number 19-6-765, 10 cents. No would be opposing. Motion passes, 11 yes, 5 noes. Good job. Next piece of business is going to be the appropriations. Robbie, do you have anything you'd like to cover on the appropriations?
As far as the SRO goes,
yes,
the appropriation's already in the sheriff's budget, so that doesn't change anything as far as our appropriation resolution goes.
Okay.
And as far as the schools, the money that they're going to keep, they can do a budget amendment or whatever, move it to where they'd like.
Okay.
Right, but, well, we have an undesignated fund balance. If this will just make our budget be $290,000 more in the red. You know, it was 400,000 and something, so now it's going to be 600 and something thousand, which is, last year we passed a budget that was over $700,000 deficit. So
I missed that vote, but yeah, we did.
we did. And so it will just be absorbed in the fund balance.
Okay. Any other questions? Everybody got pictures of the board that they need them? If you have, let's clear the board and let's move on to the appropriation. Okay. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Meade, sir.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve resolution number 19-6764. Thank you, sir. We have a second by Commissioner Anderson. Discussion, Commissioner Meredith.
Mr. Chairman, Robbie, one more time. What was the ruling about the auditor not doing the 400,000? Can you explain that one more time?
I asked him how to handle it in the budget, and he said that money cannot be transferred between two funds receiving money from the tax levy.
Okay.
So we can transfer money from 263 to these funds because 263 receives no tax levy.
Correct.
The schools receive a tax levy, and so does general fund. So the year we did the one-to-one technology, the first year when we moved pennies around to cover that, but you can't.
So it has to have an appropriation tied to the 400. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
In short, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Meredith. Thank you, Robbie. Mr. Yeager.
Chairman, I'd like a chance to look at that issue. I understand it came from an auditor, but the money is coming from the undesignated reserve, unassigned reserve. That is not a tax levy fund. You will not see that anywhere in the tax levy. The fact that it is funded derivatively by residual amounts from the preceding budget years doesn't matter. There is a rule, a general rule, that you cannot transfer between funds that do receive tax levy funds. This is a stretch of that rule. That would jeopardize a lot of our transfers out of undesignated reserve if that's the case. I'm not saying we can fix it today, but I'd still like to argue our case to the comptroller or somebody higher up on that issue. That's concerning opinion in my book. That money is not coming from a tax levy code. But anyway, I'll be glad to work on that and try to get that resolved for Commissioner McCamey and the school system. That's a very important promise that we made to them. I know every one of us up here want to keep that. Can't do it today, but I'll fight our cause in Nashville. We'll try to get this resolved because that's a concern.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
I would say too that this shouldn't have any bearing on the budget because this is something we can do in any budget meeting, make a motion, and I'll research it further.
Yeah, that's what Robbie's saying.
You're right. So
But good
it's
question.
something we can find. I'll get more information, but I was told by the, I mean, you know, that's what we get. That's who we listen to in our office.
Thanks,
the auditors.
Thank you, Robbie. Definitely want to get Chromebooks to the schools. I'm in favor of that. Commissioner Meredith, you've already talked. Any other discussion? Mayor, sorry I missed you. We went ahead and moved on. Do you have any discussions on this appropriation before we get going? Anything you'd like to add? Or any comments you want to make in general before we move on? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. I don't see any other discussion for passing Resolution 19-6-764, which you have in front of us, which clearly outlines the appropriations for all the different codes throughout the county. Everyone seems comfortable, so let's go to the board and vote. Again, this is for the appropriations. Uh, 12 yes, 4 no's. Motion passes. Yes, okay. Give it a few minutes there. Well, congrats. Well, let me make sure we don't have any other announcements or anything. I mean, this has gone awful fast. I might even be able to get back to work. So we've passed both resolutions in front of us. I want to thank all the commissioners again. Any other comments before we get going? Commissioner Meredith, sir, did you have something?
Just one quick thing, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank our chairman of the Budget Committee. Jerry, you did a great job, as well as Robbie.
Jerry, you can take all those arrows out of your back now. I never threw any at you, though.
I'd also like to thank Robbie and his staff.
Yes.
I met with him a couple of times, as well as the mayor. Yes. She did a great job helping with some of these cuts, so.
Yep.
I just want to say that publicly.
Thank you, Robbie. Appreciate it. Okay, Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just in case anyone's confused at home, when we voted on the 18.25 increase, there were three items that we voted on, and we're voting on 2 today. So I didn't. What's the difference?
The difference. There's 3 items. One was the original motion by Commissioner Meade.
Right.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
He made a motion originally to pass the budget and all related documents. Okay. And what we had to do as a body, his motion was to pass them just as presented, I guess. But I think as a body, we needed to pass, just like we did today, just the resolutions for the tax levy and their appropriation.
Okay, so that's what the difference is.
So if we'd have had another motion similar, if Commissioner Meade would have made that motion today, we'd have had 3 different things to vote on. But what we did today is we just actually took action on, we had a motion from the Budget Committee to pass, which was recommended from the Budget Committee to pass Resolution -7645.
Okay, I thought people might have just
No, good
wondered
question.
about that.
You're
so
right.
thank
There
you.
was 3 different things at the last one, and this one we're just passing appropriations. One for the tax levy, one for the appropriation. Okay, Commissioner Denenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we adjourn, I just wanted to also thank Robbie, and I also want to thank the mayor, because they were both extremely helpful with questions and explanations that, being a newbie on the Budget Committee, I had quite a few of, and in the absence of a finance director, I think they both did an exemplary job, and I want to thank them both.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. I agree. Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner McCamey.
I too, Mr. Chairman, want to thank the mayor and Robbie. I've met with them several times and several phone calls and emails. Also, I'd like to thank the sheriff and the school superintendent. Met with both of those, and I explained to them that, what we had voted on, the 18.25, included some of their wants and not their needs. And I said, I'm here to, talk about needs. What do you need? And both of them came in with a lower figure and said that would get them through. I'm real proud of our school department because they're on their 10-year plan now. They have a 10-year plan. And with what we've done today, that gets them on that 10-year plan. And, it's something that we, and I've talked to several commissioners about it, something that we need to do. We need to get us a plan. We plan 1 year to the next, and we need a 10-year plan, or at least a 5-year plan. But again, I want to thank everybody that I worked with on this, especially the sheriff and the school department, on reducing those needs.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey. Commissioner Anderson, did you have a motion, or just anybody else like to speak? Mayor, would you like to say a few words? Yes, Kim, you had something. That's a good point, Kim. I'll make that announcement before we close out the meeting. Mayor, would you like to say something?
I'm glad this is the last of the budget meetings.
Hey, is that an endorsement, Mayor?
Yes.
Oh, man. This is on TV.
I hope that we can look to this growth that we are anticipating and look to return those taxes to the taxpayers. So I think we can do that. And I know that we're also going to talk about priorities, maybe addressing some of the debt. We're going to see the schools with their long-term plan are going to be paying off debt. So one step at a time.
Very good, Mayor. Thank you very much.
All.
Thank you. All right. I see no more business before us. Oh, Commissioner Meredith, I apologize, sir. Yes, sir.
To the announcements, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Just like paint out Alzheimer's, wear your purple this week. Dealing with that personally, so give all you can.
I appreciate that announcement, and prayers for you, my friend. Commissioner Isabel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But the good news is we do have growth. So we went from building 61 homes in 2015 to up to right now 120 just for this year, 252 more planned for this year. We got growth, and that's a good thing. That's not counting the stuff that Clinton's doing, another 51 homes, plus a Blackstone development, plus I'm sure there's going to be some other developments up and down the highway. So that's all good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Isabel. Let's just keep pushing forward. Let's just keep doing the right things, which we've all been doing. I'm proud of the schools. I'm proud of the sheriff. I'm proud of the road department. I'm proud of all the department heads that serve us and all of our employees. Everyone works hard, and I think this body's demonstrated we'll do what we can, even throughout the year, to give what we can when in need. So congratulations. Good job. Let's move on, and no other business before us. I'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you. What's that? Oh, yeah. I need to apologize to Kim's point. The meeting for August 15th is not needed. As it said in the special call meeting, there was no need for the meeting on Thursday, August 15th. This concludes the budget process. Thank you.